broke a story right before Christmas about how a Democratic Senator, Noel Frame, had leaked these sort of wish list and plans for revenue on the Democratic side. Sent out this email basically detailing every tax proposal that they wanted to drop on the Democratic side. So we knew what was coming. We had an idea before then, but that leaked email, spelt it out in real terms about a wealth tax, expanding business taxes, vilifying the wealthy to be able to get Washingtonians on board with it, property tax increases, increase in this taxes for the sale of guns and ammo, etc. As of yesterday, none of those bills had dropped, though. I mean, we were sort of anticipating, when is this going to happen? Maybe it won't happen. Maybe incoming Governor Bob Ferguson, who said that he wants to focus on cuts rather than new revenue, maybe he rubbed off on them and they decided, hey, let's hold off on those. Nope. No, they're not going to hold off on them. And why would they? Before I talk about the 3 that they dropped yesterday, and by dropped, I mean introduced. Why would they hold off? Washington voters told them loud and clear in November that they love taxes. Love taxes. Absolutely adore taxes. Didn't want to repeal taxes, even though they were making them poorer, they were completely unnecessary, or they were getting taxed for a farce of a program called the Long-Term Care Act. And whether it was manipulation or not, Washington voters decided, nope, we don't want to repeal the capital gains tax. Nope, we don't want to repeal the long-term care tax. Nope, we don't want to repeal the gas tax. So why would you not, if you were Democrats, say, all right, let's do it. Let's just dive in head first. So this is called reaping what you sow. So they have dropped the wealth tax. And I should stop using the phrase dropped because it sounds like they dropped it like out of favor. No, they've introduced the wealth tax. So I'm going to give you a couple bill numbers because you're going to want to follow all of these. So House Bill 1319 is going to be the wealth tax. I don't know if there's a companion bill in the Senate already. There probably is, but this was dropped yesterday. A little details on it here. So beginning January 1st, 2026 for taxes due in 2027, a wealth tax is imposed on each Washington resident. The wealth tax equals 1% multiplied by a resident's taxable worldwide wealth. However, the first $100 million is exempt. And so it would apply to the wealth of people who their global assets total more than, and even if they're intangible, more than $100 million. Now, here is the key. So they have a tried and true formula for making sure that initiatives can't repeal their taxes. And they used it this last time around because they passed a bill saying if there's an initiative that would repeal revenue, repeal taxes, we get to put a little addendum at the bottom on the ballot that says all of the things that this would take away from people if you repeal this tax. And so this is I think it was Brian Haywood who called this. What they're going to do anytime they pass a new tax, they're going to specifically list in the tax, in the bill for the tax, any sort of stuff that it could fund. And they're going to make it sound like the most, heart-wrenching, just absolutely, we have to, sad, like kids with cancer and stuff. And they're going to make sure it's in the text of the bill because what that allows them to do, if, for instance, Brian Haywood and Let's Go Washington wants to run an initiative to repeal the wealth tax, then they get that little addendum on the ballot and it says, if you repeal this, children with cancer will automatically die. So they didn't quite go to those extremes, but here's in the language of the bill about what the revenue from the wealth tax will go to pay for. Investments in K-12 education, early learning and childcare, post-secondary education. It'll help with individuals who have developmental disabilities and long-term care for elderly residents. It will help with low-income health care and behavioral health services. So you see that on a ballot, a tax for people who have over $100 million? Well, that's not me. And then if we repeal it, then it's gonna take investments away from K-12 education, early learning, childcare, post-secondary education. It's gonna take money away from people with developmental disabilities. This is all, they have the formula down now. They have the formula down. Hey, let's push new taxes. And remember, I'm just gonna revisit it. In that leaked email, we already know the strategy, right? Because they put their strategy in the email with do's and don'ts. Here's how we're going to sell this wealth tax to the public. We're going to be specific about the villain, talk about the wealthy few and those who wrote our flawed tax code 100 years ago. So they're going to use, and they even said in the leaked emails, the same strategy they used to defeat the initiative to repeal the capital gains tax. They're going to vilify, that's in their own words, they're going to paint wealthy people as the villains, and then they're going to talk about all the things that the villains should be paying for, like helping people with developmental disabilities and behavioral health services and investments in K through 12 education and early learning. So we see it right now, right? We know the playbook. We know how it works. We know that they're going to revisit the playbook if an initiative pops up to defeat the capital gains tax. And then they're going to initiative proof it by making sure there's some sad language in the bill that would ultimately make it to the ballot. So there it is, reaping what you sow. We warned and warned and warned Washington voters about what would happen if they didn't repeal the capital gains tax. How the capital gains tax ultimately will hurt Washington's economy in a way that hurts the middle class. And the wealth tax will be even worse. Now, first of all, the wealthy people, they're going to find a way to avoid it. But what happens when they start making budgetary decisions based on the money they think they're going to get from the wealth tax? And then that wealth tax doesn't manifest because the rich people can find a way to hide their wealth or to move to a different state and have that be their primary location. Well, Democrats in Olympia aren't going to say, well, we're not going to invest in those things anymore. No, they're going to find a different source of revenue, a new source of revenue to pay for the things that they thought the wealth tax would pay for. And who are those taxes going to fall on? They're going to fall on the middle class, as they always do. As they always do. Same with the capital gains tax, by the way. As more wealth leaves the state, which it will continue to do. Look at Jeff Bezos. That was only the beginning of people moving their wealth out of state, where he went to Florida, sold his Amazon shares, and I think saved $300 million in the process. So Democrats are used to the money they're getting now from all these rich taxes on the rich. But as those slowly dwindle, they're going to be in a worse budget deficit. And how are they going to propose getting out of it? New taxes. And at that point, they'll have run out of ways to tax the rich in a constitutional, quote unquote, manner. And so it'll have to fall to the middle class. I mean, it's simple. That's exactly what's going to happen. A couple more things they dropped yesterday. House Bill 1320, which will be a B&O tax increase. Not a surprise there. That's pretty self-explanatory. They're going to increase pretty significantly the B&O tax. And then the other one, and this is the one that we cannot be distracted. We cannot be distracted by the wealth taxes and all of that stuff. We absolutely have to focus on the property tax increase. House Bill 1334, raising property taxes. So this is going to lift the property tax levy lid, which means that if you're in King County, whoever the new executive will be, Dow Constantine for now, he can raise your property taxes 3% per pop without going to voters for it. Right now, it's only 1%. So you're talking about the ability to triple the increase in your property taxes without any sort of vote of the people. And they haven't, they filed that bill yesterday, but there was an outage yesterday of our legislative website for several hours, which I'm not sure what the cause of it was, but they haven't actually dropped the document for that bill for us to read on the fine details. But we know that their proposal is to lift the property tax levy lid from 1% to 3%. And look, I think, to me, that's the most likely one to pass. For all the hand-wringing that we'll do over the wealth tax and what it would mean for our economy and the expansion of maybe Seattle's tax on high-paying jobs and the expansion in the B&O tax at a time when businesses are already struggling, for all the attention that we're going to give that, and we will, I almost wonder if they are relying on that and hoping for that so that regular people don't realize that their property taxes are going to go up. You know, they're going to focus on we're taxing the rich, the villains, all of that, and hope that you don't see over here, shiny object. And then over here, they're going to slip through this increase in the property tax levy lid. And they actually and this is exactly what's going to happen. Mark my words right now. Somebody take note, 115 episode, top of the show. What they're going to do is say, well, we didn't increase property taxes. We gave your locality the ability to increase your property taxes. If they do that, that's not on us. If Dow Constantine decides to increase your property taxes by 3% instead of 1%, that's his decision, not ours. We just lifted the lid. So that's how they're going to shift blame, which is absolutely ridiculous because Dow Constantine can't do it without their permission. He's been begging to raise your property taxes at a faster rate. He can't do it without their permission. They're about to give him the permission. So, of course, the question is, they've got all these taxes they're dropping. What does Bob Ferguson think about it? I just want to revisit Bob Ferguson from the legislative preview that happened a couple days ago, where he was asked about some of this. So, first of all, he's been, like we said, a fiscal conservative. He's saying he wants to cut spending, I think it's 4 to 6%. And then he says that he wants to focus on cuts before focusing on revenue. Now, I, again, don't believe him as far as I could throw him. I'm going to, for now, take him at his word that that's going to be his focus, but I don't trust him. But he was asked specifically about these bigger ticket taxes and whether it's something he supports or would sign.
Could you support either the wealth tax or the jumpstart style tax?
Yes, I mean, again, I'm just not focused on that. I did place in the document that you're going to see here that's literally, I think, being released now. I do have a quote in there, right, a comment on the wealth tax. And the reason I put a comment on that is because it is obviously central to the proposed budget, right? So I just felt that was important to say something about that. And you'll have to find the exact words, but I think I express deep skepticism of the wealth tax.
So, deep skepticism. He's not saying no to it, though. And look, I mean, their top donor for any Democrat in Washington state is Nick Hanauer. Progressive billionaire. He helped them get the capital gains tax and keep it. But even he's opposed to the wealth tax because he already made his money. He already sold all his big stocks and had his big windfall. And so the capital gains tax isn't a big deal to him. But if it's on worldwide assets, then that would affect him. So, of course, he's just a total hypocrite. But if Nick Hanauer is coming out and saying it's a bad policy, man, that takes some cojones for Democrats to push it anyway. So I don't know. I think that more and more as this unfolds, I really see this as being a distraction from the property tax increases and what will likely be increased taxes on the sale of guns and ammo. So be mindful of that. Don't let them run the narrative that they're taxing the villains, right? Because then just keep pointing out, what about 1334? What about 1334? That's what I want you to comment on every single news story that's posted about them taxing the wealthy. Because they already told us, that's their strategy. They're going to focus on, we're taxing the wealthy few. We're taxing the villains. Tax the wealthy. And what your response is going to be is, what about House Bill 1334? What about the bill that allows property taxes to be increased on every single homeowner and rents increased? It will increase rents as well, because the person who owns the unit you're living in is going to have higher property taxes. So it's collectively all of our responsibility to push back about any narrative that they're just down there increasing taxes on the rich, because that is a lie.